Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning in and for joining the Controversy 7. Now, I would like to have a chat with you guys, and I'm going to provoke your thoughts. I'm going to say some things that are going to provoke you. Just make sure that you brace yourself, that you're prepared. You see, my friends, we have to mentally be prepared for that which is coming. We have to be mentally prepared for the great test that is coming. You keep hearing me talk about a test that is coming, a test that is coming. Why? You see, in every walk of life, there always must be a time of a test. It does not matter from what angle, which ethnicity you come from, which part of the world you belong to or you came from. Everywhere, there must surely be a test. So long as the God of Israel, He reigns over the affairs of men, a test shall surely come, and a test must come to reveal the character of people. That being said, we have entered a new era. And this era that we have entered, this new decade that we have entered into, my friends, this is the decade that will change everything completely. Look, the 2010s that came, the 2010s all the way to 2020, that was a whole different decade all by itself. And that was a decade that brought about so much corruption. And it brought so much corruption. The ending of marriage, the redefining of marriage, the amplification of the spirit of Sodom, and pride was being pushed upon the nations. People have been bewitched, but they did not realize that they have been bewitched. You see what I'm saying? That being said, in this decade that we have entered into, we have entered a new decade in which spiritualism is going on the rise, and people don't realize that they are also being bewitched as they have been bewitched in the 2010s and as they have been bewitched from the 2000s to the 2010s. Are you catching the drift of where I'm going? Now, I want you guys to think about this. In the early 2000s, an event happened which brought down the buildings. You know what event I'm talking about. You know what event I'm talking about. That is something nowadays, if you mention on YouTube, boom, they're going to strike you for it. So I have to be wise. But you know the event I'm talking about, when the buildings came tumbling down, brought down to rubble. That event. You know, that event led to an event known as the War on Terror. This was the 2000s. From the 2000s to the 2010s. Put your thinking caps on, all right? Think about this. What does the word terror mean? Were the people being bewitched? Observe. The word terror, if we go on Google, it simply means, here it is, terror. The definition of it, it simply means extreme fear. So let us change the word terror and insert its definition. So let's just say now, when America was declaring war, America declared war on extreme fear. The war on extreme fear simply brought in more extreme fear. Do you get what I'm saying so far? Because it seems that after that event, the event of terrorism, more terrorism all of a sudden began to sprout. Okay. Are you thinking so far? Put your thinking caps on. When the war on drugs was declared, what began to happen? Well, more drugs were being shipped in. When the war was being made, okay, there are some things that are getting sensitive. I'm trying not to mention it here on YouTube, but this subject, we're going to have to deal with this in a greater detail on my website at thecontroversy7.ca. The link of that will be in the description box. Think about this. Let me bring this here to today. In the early 2000s, When the war on extreme fear was declared, people began to say such outrageous statements saying that, you know what, they would, if they have to sacrifice some of their civil liberties for the sake of security, they will do so. Do you know what a war does? War strips people's freedoms away from them. War strips people's, you know, privacies away from them. War allows the people to give up some of the blessings that they had from God, just so that they can be able to receive security from men. Now watch. I want you guys to put your thinking caps. Knowing what war does, do you know that there was war declared on cybersecurity? There's a cyber war that was declared, and that cyber war has to do with what the elite call the disinformation or misinformation. See, there's when the war of disinformation, when the war on disinformation was declared, what that ended up leading to was more disinformation. But it was not coming from regular people. It wasn't coming from anybody else. It's coming, in fact, from the very people who are declaring that they want to put an end to disinformation. Do you not notice how we have come this far from the early 2000s all the way now? And here we are. Now we are at an age where you can't just speak anything anyhow. You have to be very careful about what you post on YouTube, because, if you say anything that goes against mainstream narrative, you are a part of disinformation. Therefore, the war is being declared upon you. You are the terrorist. And you can attack people through your words. Okay, I'm about to make you guys think some more. President Trump declared war against something. Remember what war does. War takes people's freedoms away from them. It takes people's privacies away from them. War takes a lot of the things that people have. War, when you are in a state of war, you are in a state of emergency. Did you guys know that America is still in a state of emergency? And not only is America, but even Canada is in a state of emergency. Not just these nations, even when you go to Europe, there are nations, the nations there are all in a state of emergency. But nobody is going to talk about how they are still in a state of a national emergency. Remember, war strips people's freedoms and privacies away from them. It gets taken away. When you're in a war, you lose it all. Put your thinking caps on. Let me bring this home. President Trump made a declaration about declaring war against an invisible enemy. Pay attention. Let's play this clip together, and we're gonna see what happens. Let's play this clip together. All right.
I'm really happy with the job we're doing. And I'm glad that this team and me are here for this horrible thing. I mean, it's a number of people have said it, and I feel it, actually. I'm a wartime president. This is a war. This is a war, different kind of a war than we've ever had. I want to say that I know that this is a challenging time for all Americans. We're enduring a great national trial, and we will prove that we can meet the moment. I want to assure the American people that we're doing everything we can each day to confront and ultimately defeat this horrible, invisible enemy. We're at war. In a true sense, we're at war, and we're fighting an invisible enemy. Think of that. We're working urgently with Congress on legislation to support the millions of workers, small businesses, and industries who have been hit hard by the virus through no fault of their own. Our goal is to get relief to Americans as quickly as possible so that families can get by and small businesses can keep workers on the payroll. This will help our economy, and you will see our economy skyrocket once this is over. I think it's going to skyrocket. It's a pent-up demand. It's a built-up demand, and I guess you really have to say who knows, but I think it's going to be a tremendous day when we win this war, and we will win the war.
Now, I want you guys to think about this. Think about this. What does war do again? Oh, that's right. It strips people's freedoms and their privacies away from them. When President Trump declared war against this invisible enemy, what did it result in? Oh, isn't it ironic that it just led to people all of a sudden losing their freedoms and their privacies? Let's clarify some of this. Your freedom to move about, your freedom to walk and to travel. Wait, that is something that is actually in the Canadian Charter of Rights. It's in the United States Constitution. You should be able to go anywhere. But now people have lost that privilege of being able to move about, of being able to actually do things that they did before. All of that has been stripped away from them. And now, what are the majority of people saying? Oh, well, that's okay. We will give up our freedoms for the sake of security, for the sake of feeling safe. For the sake of feeling safe, we are going to give up our freedoms and our privacies. And now, they are paying the consequences for it. Now, think about this. When the war on cybersecurity and disinformation was declared, what era did we enter into? Let me see. I believe this was actually, I believe this was in the 2010s, the era of the 2010s. I believe so. This is in the era of the 2010s. And what simply happened, my friends, is that when this war was declared on cybersecurity and disinformation, people began to all of a sudden get censored. Now, the only people who had who were the source of truth, guess who they were? Mainstream. Mainstream media now had the upper hand of spreading true information, quote unquote. But meanwhile, everybody else was now in the dark. Everybody else was a part of disinformation. If you do not comply with mainstream narrative, then you are a part of disinformation. So, but the very people who are telling you that they are declaring war against disinformation and against cybersecurity, they are the very same ones who are posing cyber threat to you, and they are the ones who are bringing to you disinformation. Friends, I believe this was declared. Let me just take here. Here's an article. All right. Here's an article that is called, that says disinformation is a cybersecurity threat. Right? Disinformation is a cybersecurity threat. That's what it says. Now, there's more that we can be able to read concerning this, but here's the main thing I'm saying here. It seems that every time they declare war on these things do not get reversed and be taken away. No, the new measures and strict measures that are implemented whenever a war is declared, those measures are left in place. They do not go anywhere. Which means when a nation declares that it is in a state of emergency, that nation will not, America will not, look, if you think that America is not in a state of a national emergency, you are sadly mistaken. America is in a state of a national emergency. Now, check this one out. President Trump, in the year 2020, declared war against the, quote-unquote, invisible enemy. Trump declared war against the invisible enemy, and that invisible enemy is a pestilence. Is a pestilence that we know. We know what it is called. It is C-19. You know what I'm talking about. You know it. You know it. Now, put your thinking caps on. Stay with me here. When that was declared, remember, every time a war is declared, people lose civil liberties, and even some religious liberties will be lost. Your freedoms, all right, and your privacies are taken away from you. What am I saying? Well, when Trump declared war on this invisible enemy, and you know what that enemy is, the virus, what ultimately happened was it resulted in people losing their freedoms and their privacies. Religious liberties have been stripped away from people. Civil liberties have been stripped from people. Ultimately, now what era are we living in? Put your thinking caps on. We're not done yet. Freedom in general gets surrendered when a war is declared. Now, in order for a war to shut down a church, that is a very, very bad enemy. That is a very deadly war. Here's the thing. Think about this. When Trump declared war against this invisible enemy, the pestilence, all right, that the world is dealing with right now, the problem that happened was this war was a war that is an economic warfare that was going to destroy the economy, and this is also a war that was destroying people's lives. This is a war that is going to affect people's freedoms. Now, for those who think that everything is going to go right back to normal, as long as your freedom is not returned back to you, you're still in a state of war. As long as your freedom is not given back to you, you are still in a state of a national emergency. Nations around the world are all in on it. Also, I want you to think about this. People are wearing masks now, all right? Do you know that the war that has been declared, let me just verify, let me just check this out. War on climate change. In January 13th of 2021, it says Biden, Kerry, and the Pentagon can declare war on climate change. You see? Here's another website. Another website says, we must fight climate change like it's World War III. Now, that girl by the name of AOC, or that's the abbreviation for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that girl, what she did was she made a statement where she said that climate change is our World War III, or is our World War II. So here's the thing. Is the world being prepared for another war? Do you know also that there's a war that is declared upon carbon emissions? I hope I'm making you guys think. Just stay along with me, and you're going to see the final goal of this. The carbon footprints, carbon emissions, and the reduction of carbon dioxide. All of this, my friends, is a part of the climate change agenda. Now, think about this. I hope you're thinking now. Don't lose this. Keep this focused. I'm bringing this to 2021. You see, ultimately, my friends, the carbon emissions agenda and the reduction of carbon dioxide and all these things that the people are making a war against, that they're declaring a war against. And mind you, make sure you understand this also. while the war is being declared upon carbon footprints and the carbon emissions and all those things, what we are also seeing is that trees are being cut away. Trees are being cut down. Forests are being burned. All of this, and the trees are supposed to be the main things. Trees are the ones that filter out the air. Trees filter out the air by taking all the carbon dioxide out and then filtering it, and then you get nice, fresh oxygen, oxygenated air. That's why it's very important for God's people in these last days to be in the country living, surrounded by trees where there's plenty of fresh air. All right? Check this out now. Now, think about this. Think. What do we inhale? What do we breathe in? Oxygen. What do we breathe out? CO2. Carbon dioxide. We inhale oxygen and we exhale CO2, carbon dioxide. Remember, there was a war declared on carbon emissions and for the reduction of basically CO2 production. How many people in the world today? Well, Bill Gates says that there's too many people alive in this world today, which means too many people are exhaling CO2. I wonder what would be a clever tactic of reducing the carbon emissions. Well, I mean, if people exhale carbon dioxide, wouldn't that mean that you just gotta plug them up and muzzle them so that they can keep that carbon dioxide within themselves and keep inhaling it? Are you thinking? Are you thinking? Why do you think people are wearing masks? See, my friends, this pestilence that is going on around the world that people are talking about, that is affecting people's jobs and people's careers and people's companies, affecting real lives. This pestilence that we are dealing with right now, that CNN keeps talking about every second, and all you hear about on the news is just the pestilence, the pestilence, the pestilence. C-19, that's all it is that they're talking about. This very thing that they're talking about. Now, I'm going to make a statement that is going to sound way outrageous out there. It's gonna sound really outrageous. But my friends, when I look at COVID and when I look at climate change, I see no difference. I see no difference at all. Why? Climate change deals with reduction of carbon emissions. Because of COVID, everybody has to wear a mask, thus reducing carbon emissions, carbon dioxide. Climate change deals with shutting down economies and allowing the world to cool down and to rest. Well, COVID has shut down economies, shut down factories, shut down businesses, and then it allowed the earth to have a rest. Climate change deals with introducing a whole new economic world policy. COVID is the one that shut down the economies and now is allowing the world to enter into a new phase of an economic world order. What? Climate change would introduce a new norm of living under new strict laws and a whole new system of governance. Well, COVID is the one that is known for introducing new norms, and people have to comply by it, or else they'll face the consequences. Do you see the mirror between COVID and climate change? Are you thinking? I'm not joking around when I'm talking about this, my friends. I get excited when I'm talking about these kinds of things because I'm seeing a revelation that is being revealed to me. A revelation that is being revealed to me, and I'm seeing it. It makes a lot of sense. Too many Adventists are running around with their mouths saying climate change, that's the one, keep your eyes on climate change, that. But they're ignoring the fact that they've already entered into the time of crisis. Friends, we have entered into a little time of trouble. It has already begun, and things are not going back to normal. If you think that things are going to go back to normal, think again. The words of Jesus Christ in Matthew 24 is very clear. We've read this so many times. We've read this so many times. Matthew 24, beginning from verse number 6, the Bible says, "And ye shall hear of wars. Ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled." Jesus is telling us that you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. These people have been declaring so many wars, and people have not even been paying attention, saying this is a war that has been declared and we are having our liberties taken away from us. People have not recognized that. You telling me that people could not see through that? Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. In other words, people are going to hear of wars and of rumors of wars. Things might even appear to go back to normal, so the end is not yet. Then he goes on to say, "For nation shall rise against nation." Think about this. Nation represents people. A nation represents a people, a race. When race wars were declared, when all of a sudden the war was declared against racism, all of a sudden Black Lives Matter comes right up. And now racism is being rekindled all over again. Nation shall rise against nation. And what does it say? And kingdom against kingdom. A kingdom against kingdom. A kingdom is a political power. Political governments will go to war and will strive against other political kingdoms. Think about this. The war on extreme fear, and you know what I'm talking about, terror. The war on extreme fear that led to the nation of America going into another king. Okay, the kingdom of America went to another kingdom and to declare war against them and remained there until today. Their presence is still there. They have their bases there. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom," so that's race wars, "and kingdom against kingdom," political wars, "and there shall be famines and pestilences," viruses. Pestilence, virus. Pestilence, virus. Right? "And there shall be famines and viruses and earthquakes in diverse places," in different places. Final verse that I'm reading for you in verse 8, he says, "All these are the beginning of sorrows." Do not let this pass you by. My friends, if you are going to a church, if you attend a church in which the pastors and the leaders, the elders of the church and the congregants are telling you that you must muzzle yourself and you need to block off your nose, cover yourself so that you can, so when you're talking, this is how you sound. You sound like you're muffled and you can't even say anything until you pull that mask so you can try and say something, but then you're muzzled. You are muzzled. If you're going into a church like that, get out of that church. Get out of that church. What are you doing in that church? It doesn't matter what kind of a church it is. If they are telling you that you need to wear this thing inside the church and that you cannot sing songs without that thing, the thing, and you know what it is I'm talking about, get out of that church. Go, stay home, worship at home. It sounds extreme what I'm telling you. My friends, we need to put our feet down. You need to put your foot down when you are seeing things that should not be done. The world that we're living in is a world that is vastly changing. Very quickly it is changing. And it is very vast. Right now, the world is so different than before. We are no longer living in a time when you can just go and do anything that you want to do anymore. Now everything is being monitored. Every movement are being watched. Friends, this is the age that we're living in. What time are we living in right now? See, nothing new has been brought upon us. Everything that is happening right now are the exact same things that have happened in the days of old. There's no new thing under the sun at all. There's no new thing at all under the sun, as the Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. So the fact of the matter is, right now, the whole world is being shaken. And people are moving in the same direction as others. And they do not realize that peer pressure is their enemy. Peer pressure is their enemy. Right now, if you cave into peer pressure and you decide to get this thing, and you know what it is, the vial. If you get the vial, you don't know what this poison is going to do to you. You don't know what it's going to do. But my friends, you have been given a protective system that defends you against all types of pestilence. Your Father in heaven did not create you defective. Your Father in heaven created you with what is known as an immune system. Your blood is what defends you against all snares of sicknesses. Your blood protects you. Your blood saves you. The blood of Jesus Christ, the blood of the Son of God, the blood of Yeshua, His blood protects us, saves us, sanctifies us, redeemed us from death. We have been defended by the blood of Jesus. His blood that was shed on the cross of Calvary. It's because of that blood that today I'm here, that you're here. We are living in the last days. It is time for us to not give in to peer pressure. Don't give in to peer pressure. Some people might be pressured that they should go and stand in line with everybody else. Do not give in to that. Because my friends, the time that we're living in, these times that we're living in are very dangerous times. But these are momentous times. These are times where you cannot afford to be distracted. No more distraction. Don't allow the devil to come and whisper into your ear and deceive you and pull your attention elsewhere. You see what I'm saying? Look, there are things that I would like to say, but even right now, I push the borderline on some of the things that I'm speaking because of the whole community guidelines and everything that YouTube has. So I'm going to have the uncensored version of this video. I'll just go and do a whole separate video on my website, www.thecontroversy7.ca. Go to my website, subscribe to my website, and there you will receive more information. All right. When you subscribe to my website, I am the one who directly sends you guys the notifications. Nobody else is sending the notification. It's me who's going to send a notification to you directly. So if you go to my website and you subscribe there, when I upload the video, I will mass mail it out to everybody, and hopefully you can get notified and you will then go and watch the video. All right? I'm not going to keep you guys for long because this is There's more things for me to say that I would like to say, but I'm just going to make it short and just cut the video right here. So thank you for tuning in, for joining me on YouTube. This is the Controversy 7. You take good care of yourselves, be blessed, be safe, and I'll see you guys next time.